Hello, friends. In the last episode, we started talking about personal branding and why personal branding is important and what are the things you should keep in mind when creating a personal brand. As I said last time, we're going to continue this episode with some aspects of personal branding. And I think the first thing I would like to cover today is about the risk to personal branding. What are the pitfalls that you should watch out for so that your personal branding remains strong and relevant? And I believe one of the most important aspects that you have to keep in mind is staying in a very closed focus area. You will have expertise in something in which you are very, very well educated, very knowledgeable, and that, of course, is your strength. But that doesn't mean you are not good at anything else. So you need to convey as a message from your personal brand that, okay, this is my expertise, but there are other things I'm good at. Because you don't want to get typecast. And you read about this very often when it comes to actors and when it comes to certain professionals who are just into one aspect and they get typecast, saying that, okay, if that's the kind of role or if that's the kind of person we are looking for, then this person. But as I said, we all have skills that go beyond that USP or that strength that you have. That strength is necessary. So don't say, I want to be a jack of all. No, you need to be a jack of all but one. And in that one, you need to be the master. So you don't get typecast. Because if you're going to stay just in that one frame, and you will see I keep changing my topics. Yes, I have to study a lot. It's a lot of effort. I talk to people to get different viewpoints. But after some time, if I were to stay just in one particular space and just use that as my USP and my talking subject or topic, so to say, I will have nothing new to add. Okay, maybe except tech. Tech, there is something new coming out every day, but otherwise there will be nothing new to add. And how am I then going to interact with you guys? If I have nothing new to add, I can't keep repeating myself. Okay, so I need to spread beyond just my strength and USP. And also, after some time, being typecast into one role leads to diminishing returns. Because once people have used your expertise, then what else do they approach you for? So the returns you are getting out of your personal brand is going to keep diminishing. Another challenge when you're just staying in one particular space is the challenge of staying authentic. And this is true of a personal brand in general also. Okay, because if you don't build your personal brand based on your real personality, I'm not saying that you don't change your personality, you do, you become better, but you can't change the core of your personality. At the end of the day, you are what you are. So if your personality that you're projecting as your brand is not what you really are, then staying authentic consistently for your brand is going to become pretty challenging. Not just a little bit, it's going to become pretty challenging. So when it is based on your own personality, it becomes easier because that's what you are and that's what you're going to keep doing all the time. And don't ever oversell yourself because that will make you unauthentic. So you need to be sure that whatever you are talking of is something that you are sure of and don't oversell. Okay. Another challenge that I've frequently seen people who have been personal brands are that they become more about the brand than about the person. And this leads to the downfall of the brand because you are not then humane. In any interaction, you are constantly just trying to project your brand and forgetting about everything else. And there are a lot of other relevant things. There are times when your brand is not required to be mentioned also, depending on the situation. So if you're just focusing on the brand, you become less human, and that's not a great thing. And if your brand identity is not in sync with your personality, you appear to confused. So don't become just the brand, be human, be the person you are. And there are times when every person could get confused, but you don't confuse them by not being an authentic you. Okay. So in all your interactions with everybody, please be authentic always. Okay. And whatever your actions, whenever you're doing something, look at the result or look at what are the consequences of what you are doing and try to attract as little as negative reactions or negative publicity as possible. Okay, because then what happens is that you remain the brand, but that negative publicity is actually dampening the effect of the brand. Okay, so attract the minimum amount of negative publicity and negative reactions that you call. Don't make erratic judgments. Okay, think about it before you make a judgment, and don't behave irrationally. There are times when you have that knee-jerk reaction, but you need to be able to control them and make sure that you don't do it. So these are some of the pitfalls that you need to take care of. Another aspect of personal branding, and I have had this challenge personally quite often, is my professional brand versus my personal brand. So the first thing is, let's look at how you will create the professional you, how you will project the professional. And one of the first things I've done, and if you see most or practically all of my DPs or profile pictures that you will see on various platforms, is one standard photograph. I had somebody take that photograph for me. I got a professional to do what I call a non-passport. That photograph will never work for a passport or a visa application. So I call it a non-passport mugshot of myself. So get a proper non-passport mugshot of yourself prepared. And this is what you should use as the DP or the PP, whatever you choose to call it, on all social media platforms and other interactions that you have on whatever channel it is. Okay, so that is very important because you need to project yourself right and make sure that that photograph is nice and fun and not as you do for your passport photographs. Be discoverable online. There are a lot of people like me also who keep this to a minimum. I prefer to have my digital footprint as small as possible. But if you're really out to create a great and a well-known personal brand, you need to be discoverable online on various social media platforms, on various channels across the board, maybe YouTube, maybe this thing, create a Google identity so that you appear in Google searches and various things, but you need to be discoverable, so to say. Have a professional purpose. When you're creating a personal brand, one thing is to think of it just as a personal, but when you're creating a professional brand, or when you're trying to do something that is a combination of both, you need to have a professional purpose along with your personal purposes. And no matter whether it is personal or professional, you have to develop the habit of listening. I've said this so often. You don't just hear, you have to listen. And you have to practice empathy at all times. And practice writing and talking. Very often, you're going to have to talk to people, talk to on a public platform. You have to write something, you have to write things to people. You need to practice that and hone your skills on how to write a personal letter or a professional letter, both. Okay, in the same way, how do you talk when you're sitting in a family gathering, and how do you talk when you're sitting in a business gathering? So you need to practice this because practice is what will make you perfect and better at it. Once you have created your professional brand, and personal brand, in fact, all over, you need to revisit the brand at regular intervals and check that your data is correct. You will have, as I said in a previous episode, you would have gained skills, you would have learned something new. You need to make sure that your brand USPs and basics are updated at all times. Okay. And it's the same, just like you are going to update your skills, you need to revalidate all the content, which is your brand statement, so to say, and correct your digital presence to make it current at all times. Okay. Create a branding statement. Maybe you can have two statements, one on the personal front, one on this thing, depending on what you are focused on. Okay. But you need to create a branding statement, because this statement is what is going to convey to everybody who interacts with your brand, your vision, your mission, and your values. Okay. When there are special things that you have done, document your experience and highlight those on special achievements on social media and your brand page. And be consciously social. Consciously, a lot of people who create personal brands and who have attained a lot of fame try to stay away. That's not the way to go. You need to be social. You need to reach out to people. You have to make sure that people can connect to you and reach out to you. So you need to reach out and connect with people. Now, when we're talking of professional and personal brands, one of the challenges that frequently comes is whether a personal and a professional brand should mix. And if they do mix, how do they mix? And at what level? And in what way do they mix? So remember one thing, no matter which field you are in, your business never goes away from you. Everybody knows what business you are in. Everybody knows your professional brand, even if it is not created, so to say. And everybody knows you personally. Even the person who knows you very well personally, at the end of the day, comes to know about what your business is. So you and your business both never go away. So they are going to mix at some time or the other. So be prepared for that. Build your thoughts, build your values in a way that they are valid across everything that you do. And that is why we say be authentic. As far as possible, make sure that the personal brand is your real personality and that your statement mentions your mission, and your values in reality. Don't create false information or don't create false values because you can't live by them consistently. Okay. Everyone, whether it's your customer or personal connections, will expect and want to see consistency in everything you do. Okay. It's very challenging, trust me. Okay. But it is something that is necessary. A lot of times, how authentic you can be and how you mix the two will depend on the industry that you are in. Like we all know that with all the paparazzi that is there, for somebody who is in the limelight, especially when it comes to actors and other people in the art and cinema industry, for them to keep their personal life and professional life separate becomes extremely challenging. Though a lot of people do succeed in doing it to a good extent, it is extremely challenging. So depending on the industry, it is going to be challenging to keep these two apart. And as a rule, as in everything else, because that's the way people remember things, use the 160 character rule to define your task line or your vision or your mission, if I may call it that, in your personal brand. And that 160 character this thing can be two statements, but because they need to cover both your professional and your personal. You need to use both the brands and strength of both the brands to build awareness for each other. because you're never going to be able to keep them isolated. So might as well use the strength of one to promote the other, or use the strength of both to promote each other. That is an essential part. And in today's world, you need to use social media to create and project a streamlined and in sync image of both the brands. Both the brands' image has to be in sync. They cannot be diverse, because then there is no consistency. In both cases, remember to be human and be consistent in both cases as to the why, the who, what your focus is, and have a similar communication style across both the brands, because that makes it easier for people to relate. Evaluate your USPs by doing an honest self-assessment. Don't wait for others to tell you. And do it justly, do it with all honesty and integrity. Okay, there have to be things that you are passionate about, and this should be mentioned on both the brands, personal as well as professional brand, and they should never cease to excite you. Only then is that passion going to be shown as active and alive. List down your core beliefs and values. That is the best way, and make them, stick them somewhere so that you visually see it practically every single day of your life, so that you are reminded about it yourself. Okay, and list your strengths. Make a list of all your strengths. Out of that, you decide. You can take help and opinion of others if you like, but you decide on your top 3 skills, and make sure that these top 3 skills are the ones that set you apart from the crowd and give you an edge over others who are in the same space or who are in the same profession as you. Okay, define your operational strengths. Okay, are you a leader? Are you a doer? Or are you both? You need to define and communicate it. Because if you're just a leader and not a doer, taking up an executive position where you're running something on a day-to-day basis is not really your cup of tea. Then you're a doer. If you're both, then it's fine. And of course, once you define yourself as a leader or a doer, you know what kind of roles, what kind of profiles you want to look for, whether you are consulting, whether you are working with somebody, whether you are starting your business. If you're looking for a partner, what kind of partner do you mean who is going to complement your requirements, etc. Inquire and list as to what the others think of you. This is to validate your own thoughts, whether you are on the right space or not. Okay, so this becomes your guide as well to where you should put in effort and where you can better yourself and what needs correction. Ask people for their opinion and also take help to find out what they think about you. Sit down for a coffee with somebody. Ask them, what do you think I can do better? And trust me, if you're sitting with the right person, he will be very honest. He or she will be very honest and give you an honest and realistic opinion about your strengths and weaknesses. Okay? And try to find out what people are thinking about you behind your back, because that, more often than not, is the real you. Okay? So compare this and figure out where you need to improve. And then plan your calendar so that you put in time that is required to devote for the improvements that are necessary. And then keep updating your profile as and when time comes. So you have to remember that at the end of the day, and please remember this statement, your success will depend on how authentic you are in your relationships and how meaningful your interactions are. You need to be yourself always. Bring real value to all the interactions that you have, and you want to be someone that others are happy to be around. Make this your goal. Make this your vision. Make this a doctrine that you follow every day, and you'll be very successful. So with this, I end the personal branding, this thing. I think from the next session, I'm hoping to look at some different topic, probably go into something about strategy, which I think is necessary after all the branding and everything that we've talked of. So have a good evening and see you next time. Thank you.